Friday, and thank you so much for joining. This is The Day. My name is Sarah Otieno. Today we'll be looking at some of the news that are making headlines across our country and also across the globe. We'll be talking about Kazi Mtaani, and it is the talk of town right now. We'll also be talking about one important subject, especially for parents and guardians, and that is child neglect. It is something that is basically just assumed across our communities, and it's something that we should be looking into. Well, that and much more coming up in this hour of This Is The Day. We're live on Family Radio, also live on Family TV, where we're keeping Jesus on the airwaves. Use the WhatsApp number 0786 316 316 to talk to us, and also through the SMS line 20316 on Facebook and Twitter at Family Radio 316. Well, the second phase of National Hygiene Program, popularly known as Kazi Mtaani Initiative, will target 55,524 youth in Nairobi County, up from 12,250 in the pilot phase of the project. This was said in the official launch of the project in the Waruku area in Dagoretti North constituency by Correctional Services PS Zainab Hussein, who added that the program will provide a crucial safety net to numerous households, especially those in informal settlements of the country. The 55,524 will comprise of 53,733 workers, and we'll have supervisors of up to 1,791 that will be drawn from the National Youth Service and the local champions. Well, a huge number among the many are the trained teachers who lost their jobs in the last few months after private facilities buckled under the pressure of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Nimekuwa nafunza shule ya serikali lakini kwa board, na tangu janga la corona litokee imekuwa ngumu kulipwa mshahara. Tulilipwa tu hadi mwezi wa 4, na tangu hapo hatujaona mshahara tena, na maisha imekuwa ngumu.
Tangu janga la corona lilipoanza, kwa hakika walimu wengi sasa shule za binafsi waliathirika sana kwa hili janga la corona. Imefika wakati lazima utafute hata jinsi namna unaweza jiendelesha kimaisha.
Education was paralyzed, and as a result, even teachers on board, payment has been a problem. Since March up to now, some of us have not received anything.
Na wakati nilipata ripoti kwamba kuna kazi mtaani na ni kazi kwa vijana, nikaona wacha nijaribu bahati yangu na nikaweza kupata kazi hii,
kwa sababu kama hauna mapato, hauna vile unajiendelesha maisha, inabidi hauwezi kaa tu, lazima utafute kitu kingine chenye unaweza fanya. Lakini tunatumainia Mungu ya kwamba hili janga la corona litaisha na maisha yataweza kurejelea kawaida.
When this disease is over, we shall be needed. Our services are very essential in the development of our child's education. So we appeal that they should not just be silent on us. Let them assist us, because we need each other.
Well, this program has attracted a lot of teachers, especially from the private sector, who are rendered jobless because of the pandemic. After private schools, most of them closed down because of this COVID-19 pandemic. Well, do you think that this could be a solution to the increasing cases of youth unemployment, especially during this time? Do you think it could be a solution to that problem that has been there in our country for quite some time? Send us your views on this, 0786 316 316. That is on WhatsApp, SMS line 20316. Now, we will be looking at some of the cases of COVID-19 that has affected our country. But for now, we look at the environment sector, and the Environment and Land Courts has ordered the government and 2 private investors to pay 1.3 billion to residents of Owino Uhuru slums in Changamwe, Mombasa County, who are affected by lead poisoning. which was emanated from a factory within that area. In a ruling on Thursday, Justice Anna Molo also ordered state agencies responsible for the environment to clean up any remaining lead deposits. Now, the residents moved to court in 2016 seeking a 1.6 billion as compensation for the death of their loved ones, as well as ailments associated with the lead poisoning. The residents of the area are thankful to the system as they wait to see if the justice will be served and reflected to the residents of that area.
Vizuri mpaka wakati ile kampuni ya ile ya kurecycle battery ikaya kuanza operation mwezi 2009 ndio tukaja sasa kujua kuna moshi inatoka hapa, watu wakaanza kukohoa na miscarriage sugu hapa mtaani sana. Sasa ndio tukaanza sasa kushirikiana watu wa Center for Justice tuweze jua ni nini inatuletea shida katika mtaa huu. Hapo Center for Justice ilijitolea ikapima watu kidogo, ndio tukajua madhara inatokana na hiyo sumu ya lead. Kwa vile huwa tumeteseka tukitafuta haki hiyo miaka yote, maana haki at least imepatikana, ni sasa ile shirika la Center for Justice ikawa na watu wa uhuru na wakilishi wa serikali waone vile watu watapata hiyo compensation kupitia kwa njia ya haki.
Maana miaka nyingi tukiambiwa italipa, lakini hatujaiona. Basi siwezi amini kama itatoka.
Well, at least justice was served for the residents of that slum area in Changamwe. Well, we're now waiting to see whether this money will be given to those people. Now, following the president's directive to conduct first reopening of the tertiary institutions, universities are on the rush to fulfill the Ministry of Health requirements. Chuka University is among the universities that have received the green light from the Ministry of Education. The university is scheduled to reopen beginning 3rd to the 28th of August for 3rd and 4th year students, while 1st and 2nd year students have been scheduled to reopen between 31st of August and 18th of September this year. This was revealed during an expert inspection tour by the Principal Secretary.
Those that have thought faster and acted faster because they can get resources are already ready for opening. Others are putting facilities in place to get ready for opening, and then internally to arrange for the first out opening. So that, for example, there were finalist students who are just about to complete exams. Some were left with 1 year, 1 week, others were left with 3 weeks. Those ones will come and complete the exams so that they wait for graduation and leave the campus for others to come in. Collaboratively, working with all stakeholders and all professionals, we are capable of dealing with this challenge brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. We cannot just sit back and say the pandemic has come, so nothing will go on. Our strength is in dealing with the issues and the challenges brought about by the pandemic. So people are thinking, people are planning, and I believe we are going to make progress so that life doesn't stop.
Well, the University of Nairobi has, however, postponed September reopening after 3 staffers actually succumbed to COVID-19. The Vice-Chancellor, Professor Stephen Kiama, postponed the resumption of studies slated for September 2020, stating that he would not want to put at risk the health of the staff members and the students. Mr. Kiama cited the upsurge of coronavirus cases with Kenya's trajectory, that is, expect to rise towards the end of 2020. So it's good news for the students of Chuka University because they will be going back to school. But for the University of Nairobi, it has been postponed after 3 staffers succumbed to coronavirus. Well, today's numbers, when we talk of the virus, has risen to 12,063 in the last 24 hours, with 389 new positive cases being reported. Health Cabinet Secretary CS Mutahi Kagwe said 385 of the new patients were Kenyans and 4 were foreigners. This was found after testing 3,545 samples, which has now raised the number of samples tested to 233,641. In his briefing this afternoon, the ministry said 5 more patients have died and that 4 of them had underlying conditions, including diabetes and hypertension.
Allow me, fellow Kenyans, to now turn to today's issue to do with COVID-19 and to report to you what has transpired. And I want to say from the outset, Lord Bishop, you know, there are those who think that we like to do these things. You know, we like to talk every day about these things. We don't. But we must tell you. Because if we don't tell you, you begin to think that everything has become normal. And we are not living in normal times. So don't get bored. We are not getting bored. Just listen carefully to what we are saying. Listen carefully to what we repeat every day for good reasons. And today, 389 people have tested positive to the disease from a sample size of 3,545. While in terms of gender, once again, 260 are male and 129 are female.
Well, the CS also announced the country has received 20 Cuban doctors from Henry Reeve International Brigade.
We will be arriving in the country tonight to serve and offer services for the next 6 months. The idea here is for these doctors to work with our own doctors to gain knowledge from each other. As you know, we have been working since 2018. We have worked and partnered to improve healthcare services with the Cuban government. And this partnership has seen Kenyan doctors receive specialized training in Cuba, and Cuban doctors provide health care services throughout our country. But this particular one is a special brigade that is going to be stationed at KU. It is not going to be split around the country. And they are specialized doctors in internal medicine, oncology, cardiology, renal, and pediatrics.
Well, according to the CS, these 20 Cuban doctors will help to boost the Ministry of Health and that department in our country. Well, today, remember, we're asking the question, the Kazi Mtaani initiative that is now looking to employ young people across the country, and also this includes the teachers that have been rendered jobless because the private schools have been closed and now they are not receiving their salary. Do you think that this is a solution to the youth unemployment cases that have been in the increase in our country because of this pandemic? We want to hear from you. Of course, it's from the government to the common mwananchi. Is it workable, and can it help to solve the problem of youth unemployment? Well, earlier on, I talked to you about child development and neglect that comes with it. When neglected, the development of a child can be affected. I talked earlier to one Jen Gatia, who is a counselor and also a lecturer, and she had this to say. So thank you, Jen, for joining us today, and kindly tell us what are some of the ways that parents can neglect their children, and this could either be knowingly or unknowingly.
That's a very important question to ask, and I'm sure many parents would just as much want to be informed of how they are supposed to go about it. But generally, there are many ways that parents may neglect their children without even their knowledge. In other words, sometimes it is not deliberate. And when you think of a time like now, when the stay at home is the norm, for people who can, you realize that many parents are actually going to neglect their children in one way or another. One of the ways is just refusing to give the child information that they require. In other words, refusal to engage with the child. This is the time, Sarah, that we all know that children are equally concerned about what is going on. And imagine children are going to be home up to the end of the year. And what that means is that the child will have played enough, the child will have done all the things they ever liked doing as children, and they are left with almost nothing else to do. Because you know, school time takes a bit of time of school-going children. And now we are talking about the school-going children because they are the ones likely to be, you know, walking around and asking questions and so on. So refusal to engage with the child in terms of giving the child information is one way we would say the child has been neglected, especially in terms of being given information.
All right.
But also leaving the children without being sure of what they are doing, where they have gone, to even to play, whom they are playing with out there, because again we cannot lock the children in the house the whole day, but need to be let out, even sometimes probably to be with the immediate children of an apartment. Children you see it out there, but they need to be talked to by their parents. They need to be given information about even what this COVID-19 is all about. They need to be updated about what is going to happen and when schools are likely to resume in the language that the child understands. But leaving a child alone is in itself child neglect.
All right. And what about materially?
Yeah, failure to provide it to the child. Okay, when we come to material provision, it will depend on what the family can afford. But what the family can afford need to be shared with the children equally, and the child needs to understand that today, for instance, we may not have bread for breakfast, but we shall have a substitute for breakfast because we are also scaling down on the available resources. So that is very important, but the child should be provided for whatever is available by the parent, because the parent is the primary caretaker of the child. And the child has a right to be fed. Whatever the parent has to do, the child has to be fed, the child has to be clothed, and the child has to be given shelter. And the child has a right to information, including all types of information that are pertaining to the child or that affect the child in one way or another, including information that affects the family. And now we know that all families are affected.
Especially with the pandemic. And talking of that, Jane, how will I know, or rather, what are the signs of a child that is neglected?
Well, that's a good question too. It is possible to tell that a child has been neglected because the child first will look very sad, and children get depressed. Children get anxious, just like adults do. So the child will generally show sadness, and they will not be interested in play. Children naturally, especially children in the tender years, 10 years and below, are children of tender years. And such children are normally very playful, especially if they they don't want to play, for one. They look like they are sad. That could be child depression. They look very anxious, yes, and they keep probably looking like they are worried about something. That's a sign of anxiety. And the child generally will not want to talk much, including talking with her own or his own parents. at a given time. So that's a child who has been neglected. And definitely, Sarah, maybe the worst thing about that is the child you develop low self-esteem. And they also isolate themselves. Yeah.
All right, and you talked about low self-esteem and depression. Am I right to say that these are some of the effects of a child who's been neglected, either by the parents or the guardians, and this could be, as you said, knowingly or unknowingly?
Yeah, so low self-esteem in children will normally occur because the child will feel like they are not loved. One way of a parent showing that they love the child is by talking to the child and by listening to the child. The children have a lot to say if only the parents or the caretakers of the child would be able to listen.
Yeah.
And the child feels valued when they are listened to. And when they are told something that they can understand, they feel valued. And furthermore, when their questions are asked, are answered.
Yeah.
When they ask questions to adults and they are answered, they feel valued. And it is that element of value given by the primary caretaker, in this case a parent or the guardian of the child, that you actually build in them self-esteem.
Okay.
That is how it works.
All right, and when a child is neglected, can it affect his life after childhood? By that I mean maybe his relation maybe with his marriage partner, and can it also affect his children or her children later on in the years?
Oh yes, actually, the developmental psychology of a child, part of it is what we make that child to be. We are only making an adult. Because every child will be an adult at some point.
Sure.
All of us were children. And what we were made to be by our parents, including teaching us values. When there's a crisis like this COVID-19 pandemic, how do children react to that? So parents and guardians and friends of children should be able to explain to the children how we are responding to this crisis. Because the child is a part of the family. And the child should be involved in resolving this crisis. They need to be told how to go about it. They need to be told that the pandemic will be over. Otherwise, same way they were neglected. The longest holiday in the history of many of the parents in the world. And now this is the time to be with the child as much as we can and teach the child even certain values of the family, even how to behave and how to resolve conflicts other than just the COVID-19 when they occur. It is time to be so close to the child and let the child understand the family issues, understand even the parents and what parents like things being done, assigning little tasks to the child so that they also learn to work, because that is also very important. Yes, there is the stay at home, but the stay at home does not mean the child is made to sleep the whole day, so that they for the long holiday. That's my child.
Yeah.
And so what is the best I can make out of that book? The college-going children. If they are below 18, definitely, they are still our children.
Yes.
And we need to assign them work. We need to be with them more. We create more time because, after all, we have the time. We use it well, yes.
All right.
That's my take.
Well, thank you so much, Jane. I personally, I have learned a lot. One that I would apply to the children around me. Well, thank you so much for today.
And I'm sure, Sarah, you are going to, pass the message, and that parent who gets this will pass to another parent.
Yeah,
Together, we make a better society.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm really grateful for that. Have a beautiful evening. Paris from Kabete unasema, hey Sarah, happy Furahi Day. Good discussion there about child development. I'm a victim, though I'm a grown-up. Thoughts of a dad that I never had just suffocates me. I agree with that lady. But trusting God has really helped. I'm managing. Family media really excites me. You guys go deep to the roots because of things I'm grateful about. Kazim Tani is very workable in my area. It has already kicked off. Nice weekend. Thank you so much, Paris from Kabete, for tuning in today and for joining the discussion that we are having. Esi Kimeni is also touched by that discussion on child development. It is very important that we are present and just be there for your child. If it's the least thing that you can do to ensure that they grow up well. Kazim Tani is a good move, dear, because people will receive a pay instead of asking for a stipend. So yeah, currently it has solved the problem, though halfway, since not everyone will be absorbed everyone will be absorbed who needs a job. I remember C.S. Mutahi telling us about mashungwa yesterday. Are you buying mashungwa? Eating healthy, a balanced diet, and make sure you eat fruits. Yeah, the CS told us that yesterday. Kazim Tani is a short-term solution to mitigate the effects of COVID-19, but not a solution to unemployment in our country. This is Vincent Mulinge from Thika. Thank you for tuning in. Meru, we are enjoying the show. Edward Mushiri, asante sana for tuning in today. Well, Nancy Gathungu has been sworn in as the country's new Attorney General in the presence of Chief Justice David Maraga at the Supreme Court. Mrs. Gathungu takes over from Edward Ouko, who retired in August 2019 while taking the oath of office today afternoon. Gathungu said her priorities will be to clear the audit blockage as soon as possible while adhering to the Health Ministry's protocol of COVID-19. Chief Justice David Maraga, that is, had a few words of advice for the new Auditor General Nancy Gathungu as she took the oath of office at the Supreme Court. Without mincing his words, the CJ assured Mrs. Gathungu that she would step on toes and some of them will be very thick.
That I will faithfully and fully, impartially, and to the best of my ability, discharge the trust and perform the functions and exercise the powers devolving upon me by virtue of this appointment without fear, favor, bias, affection, ill will, or prejudice. So help me God. I shall therefore ensure that we continue to observe the health protocols, even as we work around the clock to clear the audit backlog that is a concern of all people. Honorable Chief Justice, audit services and audit reports are critical in monitoring and evaluating the outcome and impact of the management and use of public resources, and providing valuable information on whether we as a country are achieving our development priorities and service delivery objectives. The work of the office is therefore very critical in enhancing accountability in the public sector with the ultimate aim of transforming the lives of the Kenyan people. I shall therefore be holding this office in public trust, and I will be guided by the needs of the Kenyan people in asking for accountability on how their resources have been spent or managed by those in authority.
Well, we wish her all the best as she takes up the new position to fill in the big shoes that were left by Edward. huko. Now, the British Security Service says hackers working for the Russian state have been targeting organizations working on a coronavirus vaccine and trying to steal it. The National Cyber Security Center has issued the warning jointly with the United States of Canada, calling the attacks despicable. The Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab, said that Russian actors tried to interfere with last year's general election by using social media to distribute leaked documents about a future trade deal with the United States. Now, Russia has, however, denied all these claims.
With our US-Canadian counterparts, we have also making it clear, and we've released a statement indicating that we know that the Russian intelligence agencies have been targeting, in terms of cyber attacks, against efforts across those three countries and here in the UK, our attempt to find a vaccine through research and development for coronavirus. And I think that's pretty appalling, I have to say. I think it's important to call it out because we're not going to wait until there is harm. It's clearly wrong, contrary to international law, contrary to Russia's responsibilities as a member of the international community and indeed a permanent member of the Security Council, to be targeting with cyber attacks the international effort, not just here in the UK but in Canada, in the US, to try and find a vaccine.
Well, even as countries are rushing to get the vaccine for this virus, other countries are willing to do whatever it takes, even stealing from countries that are developing the vaccine. Anyway, we just wish and pray for the best when it comes to this. Now, there is a couple, Evelyn Kanywa and Erickson Munene. And during even this pandemic and people are exercising their measures that have been put by the Ministry of Health, this is not a reason for them not to tie the knot. They decided to come together and do their wedding, church wedding. Listen into this.
Tulikuwa tumealika watu wengi, lakini we had to follow the guidelines of the Ministry of Health to the letter.
Namshukuru Mungu saindi kwa kutubaliki na siku kama ya leo. It's a day that we had planned since last year, but we didn't know that so many won't attend, won't celebrate together with us. But wherever they are, I appreciate them, and I want to tell them that I love them.
So when people decide to get married, they should not be dissuaded or discouraged by way of pandemics or other things that may try to discourage them. What they ought to do is just to get tough, because when the going gets tough, the tough keeps going.
Well, according to the groom, Erickson Munene, he says it's not time to be discouraged, despite the fact that a lot has stalled because of the pandemic. Just do whatever you wanted to do and put God forward. That is some positive news there. Well, concerning the discussion that we were having today, Esther, you're saying, hello Sarah, kazi mtaani is a good thing. I just hope and pray it's not a hoax from the government. We hope that all the teachers that were in private schools will now get something to make their month worthwhile. Thank you so much for tuning in. I also have Dremo from Kisumu. Dremo anasema, my emoji, by the way, did you know that today is World Emoji Day? So the emoji that describes Dremo is laughter. So what's the emoji that describes you anyway? Thank you, Dremo. And you're saying, on the issue of kazi mtaani, we just hope that it's genuine. It will really help to reduce the rate of unemployment, especially amongst the youth. So yes, I'm in support for it, of it. Thank you so much, Dremo, for tuning in today all the way from Kisumu. We appreciate that you made time for this show. Well, it has come to the end of the week. Another week just gone like that, and we are thankful so much to everyone that has partnered with Family Media to ensure that we still are on the airwaves and we are keeping Jesus on the airwaves, also through family radio, where the music is doing the talking. We so much appreciate. And if you would like to be a partner with Family Media, just text in the word partner to 20316 and we will sure to get back to you and tell you what partnership really means, and also you can do that through your donation. But from me and the whole of Family Media fraternity, it's a thank you. Thank you for keeping us on the airwaves. And thank you so much for listening in to This Is The Day. Have a lovely weekend and say hi to your family members. My name is Sarah Otieno.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.